Hello, everybody. You hear me? Think we're good? I got this new swag. I tried out today. What do you think of that, huh? What's up, Super Jam? Thanks for being here. I think we're good. If you can hear me, just make sure you give a thumbs up. Looks like everything's working the way it should. All right. Glad to see that. Look at that. There we go. Now I got it to work. There we go. I'm going to try to do this thing with the comments. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here, Super Jam. Thank you. And we'll figure out where to put that. So today, some of you that are joining have more than likely downloaded this free PDF that I give out called Jazz Warmups and Etudes. If you haven't, I actually don't think I put it in the description, but you can get it at whalenjazzlessons.com. Essentially, I've gotten questions about thoughts I have about practicing them and kind of getting the most out of them. I thought before I got into the actual music part of it, I thought it would just be good to kind of talk about the importance, I think, and the value of working on things like this. I first kind of got this idea through a mentor of mine, and he's a jazz pianist you should all check out. His name is David Hazeltine. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he's from here as well. And he's kind of a legend in Milwaukee. He not only as a player but also as an educator. But he moved to New York in the early '90s. He's played with everybody from Chet Baker to Sonny Stitt to Joe Henderson to you name it. He's played with them. He's played with a lot of the masters of the music. And he introduced this idea to me of creating exercises or etudes out of material that you transcribe. And it's a way to really organize your vocabulary in a way that not only you could have this real specific set of vocabulary either within a song form or over a certain, maybe a chord quality. But when you have something like this that's written down, you have something that you can really have concrete that you could work on. It can work on your technique, your rhythm, your transposition. It's all kind of all in one in this thing. The etudes that I put together, I decided to take four very common song forms: the blues, rhythm changes, autumn leaves, because you can deal with major and minor tonalities, and then tune up, which is just a great tune to know to work on your 2-5-1s and 5-1s. So that's why I picked those four forms. Inside of each of these etudes, this is I'm trying to think. It's probably like 20 or 25 solos over the years that I just amassed this vocabulary. And then I took stuff from different solos and put them in. And I had to connect them in a way that would be musical, just so it didn't sound like, just these random licks coming in from everywhere. So that was kind of the challenge is finding a flow between all the language. And then there's a few spots in these where I had to write little or add in little things of mine just to maybe bridge the gap between one line to the next. But 99.9 of the material in these etudes is transcriptions from other people. So I thought it would be good today to just focus on one of them. We'll focus on the blues one because it's a little shorter. And before I do that, let me see what we got here. All right, Super Jam, nice to see you. Wolfgang, welcome from Germany. Friedrich from Graz, Austria, love it. And we got Noel. Noel, I think it's Noel. You even corrected me on the. Thank you, Noel. You were at the last one too. All right, so let's dive in here. This is actually good for me too because this is important for me to always reiterate with what I do as a teacher and on this channel and whatnot. Um, you know, I am by no means perfect. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to, um, be this specimen that doesn't ever make mistakes. I am working on stuff just like all of you are. You know, Michael Brecker was working on stuff at his level. Brad Meldau was working on stuff at his level. Chick Corea practiced every day because he kept trying to improve and get better. So my whole thing here is like, you can see me warts and all, and you're going to see some warts today because I haven't looked at these in quite a while. I intentionally kind of didn't look at them so I could kind of show you how I would practice this stuff kind of in front of you and give you some ideas. Okay. Before we do that though, let's just, if you don't have the packet, and again, this isn't like a promo for the packet. I guess it kind of isn't directly, but I'm not doing it important with that in mind. But I did want to take you through the intro that I wrote. If you have this, reread these intros. This kind of talks about the purpose of the etudes, mentions David Hazeltine right there. Let's connect. So here's an important thing here. These are kind of the main points. This is what we'll get on. We'll get on as we go here. You'll see the first thing I talk about is transposition. Transposition is essential in order to be successful as a jazz musician or any musician. It can be very overwhelming. I'm going to give you some tips to work on transposition. And I've only written these out in one key, and that's intentional because I want you to, if you do dig into these exercises and these etudes, rather than looking at a sheet of paper in a different key, you have to use your ear. That's how you learn how to transpose. And I say this right here, and I mean it. I really believe it. This is the most important skill you will develop. I really believe that. Being able to play things in different keys, it's invaluable to your musicality and to also to just being a versatile musician. When certain keys, when you don't favor keys, where they all can kind of have an equal, I guess, participation in what you do. And then I talk a little bit about tempos over here, and then also metronome practice and play-alongs. We'll get into that. I'll get into that in a minute. This talks about just the different transcriptions. If you look, you'll be playing the language of Charlie Parker, Sonny Stitt, Sonny Clark, Clifford Brown, Bud Powell, Freddie Hubbard, Sonny Rollins, Kenny Barron, Dexter Gordon, Barry Harris, and Hank Mobley. So all of the vocabulary of these players is within these etudes. Okay. All right. So this is important too. Tip 1, take your time. I recommend spending a month on each exercise. I go between exercise and etude. They're the same thing. The goal here is not to learn everything all at once or as quickly as possible. The goal is to allow time to digest new vocabulary. I also call them warm-ups because it's a perfect way to begin a practice session. Tip 2, practice small. Memorize each etude as quickly as possible, then transposing small bits, 1 to 2 bars in every key. The more you do this, the more second nature it'll become. Oh, there's a typo. I got to fix that. Enjoy the journey. It's a gift. Don't be too hard on yourself. That's a good reminder for myself as well. Okay, so here's the etude that we'll deal with today, the blues. Let me play through it once for you and for me so I can get refamiliarized with it, and then we'll talk about it. Do that again. And then let me sorry y'all. I was getting this. All right. I think it's time to get a new cable. I was playing that without any sound in my ears. Let me try that again. I was literally not hearing anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. One more time. So there's the exercise, okay? That on its own, these are nice because it's a great way to get the blues into your head and into your fingers. So the first thing I would say as practice tips, this is for piano centric, but also for anybody playing a different instrument. Oh, hey, Rick. Oh, yeah, I missed you at the party. Yeah, there's a guy, Rick Krause, in the comments. He's from Milwaukee. I'll see you soon, brother. Thanks for being here. Okay, anyways, the first thing I would say is some of you may not want to hear this. I don't know. I could be wrong, but if you can spend a little time making sure you can read music a little bit, that obviously would be helpful because this is written music. It maybe doesn't need to be said, but working a little bit on reading music each day, even if it's 5 minutes, it can be really helpful. It doesn't mean you got to be some amazing sight reader, but just to kind of get the mechanics of the rhythms and notes under your fingers can be helpful. I mean, that's all I'll say about that, but that's always a valuable thing to do. I'm not a great reader. I mean, I'm serviceable. I can read pretty well on a professional level, but I'm not going to show up, accompanying like a classical vocalist sight reading music. That's never been me. But with that said, it would be a good thing to be able to do. Okay, so right off the bat, for pianists, what is always beneficial, and I would do this with anything you're learning. Another thing that's great about these is what I'm going to show you here is there's so much more than just this etude. The etude can really teach you things that you can practice, all right? So first things first, work on playing low bass notes in your left hand while you play the etude in the right hand. This is good for a few reasons. Playing low bass notes and just move them in the harmonic rhythm of the chord changes. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'll do it without the right hand, and then I'll add the right hand. But getting low bass notes going down in the left hand and then playing something in right hand, you're immediately getting your hands working together, which is essential. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll add the right hand. It's a great thing to be able to do, okay? Now, I've memorized it now. Before we get into transposition, I just want to talk about a few things of different things that this can present you to work on. Not only as a pianist, but as an instrumentalist. But a lot of this stuff is piano focused. But non-pianists, bear with me a little bit, but this is good for you to hear as well. Let's talk about just the form. You could work on stuff that's not even in this etude. you've got a set of chord changes here. Use the chord changes as a chance maybe to work on left hand stuff. Maybe you just want to work on shell voicings. And I'm only going to deal with root, third, seventh. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could work on the right hand with maybe bring it up an octave. You can work on left hand voicings. In fact, why don't I pull in the iRealB app here? And that's another thing is, the iRealB is part. Can you guys hear this? I think it's all right? You can hear that? I'm gonna assume you can. Okay. Now let's talk about transposition really quick. If you all want to just give me an idea, you can give me a thumbs up. How many people here find transposition pretty daunting? Pretty kind of a big hill to climb. That I've found that with students is it's almost like they kind of give up because it just seems like a really daunting task. So that's another reason why I focused on this shorter etude for today. When you work on transposition, I'm at a point now where I can, here's the key of F. Whoops, there we go. B flat. Yeah. Let's try a random one. Let's try, I don't know. How about E? Wish me luck. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. There we go. Let me try it again. Whew, all right. E, that's not easy. But immediately what you find when you do this stuff in different keys, like this is real easy. Just as a lick in B flat, F7, B flat. Let me pick something that's actually in the etude. How about that's I'm going just this like little area right here. You know that it's really that's easier in B flat because of it's just the way the keys work. But in the key of, let's go C sharp 7 to F sharp minor. Just a different. It's very different if I do it like in, I'll do F sharp to B minor 7. There's something about going from white keys down to the black keys. It's a little easier to go from black keys down, if that makes sense. That's why transposition is so important, because keys become keyless, And don't get me wrong, I still have keys that are not as strong for me. I'm trying a new thing with my practice to kind of focus on one key for like a month. So lately I've been trying to work on the key of A a lot more. And the next month's going to be B, next month's going to be E. Kind of a pattern here. They're all sharp keys. Playing bebop and jazz language in certain types of jazz language is much more difficult in those keys, because stuff like bebop and hard bop and even into the 60s, those were all primarily done for keys for horn players. But then you got people like Pat Metheny and other more modern people that came in. They started to do things in different keys. Bill Evans loved to play in the key of B. Also, learning different keys really helps you. Certain keys feel different. They have different colors, if that makes any sense. So transposition is so important. But let's get to how. How do you tackle transposition? Well, I think the best way to do it is you got to start small. So if somebody said to you, okay, here's this etude to learn, learn it all 12 keys. See you later. Have a good one. That's sure. That would be great. But Frederick, that's a great question. And actually, I'm going to put that up. And do you have Roman numerals in mind? There we go. I do have Roman numerals in mind. And I'll get into that in a second. That's very, very good question. Let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about the blues in terms of Roman numerals. That's so important. Frederick, I also think about, any vocabulary that I'm playing, it's kind of in relation to the chord symbol. And I may superimpose different things over different chord symbols, but this is written very specifically here. This vocabulary is very much lining up with the chord symbol. So if you want to really look at this Roman numerically, this would really help with transposition. I think the first place that can really help transposition-wise is to try to just transpose the harmony, the chords. If you know the chordal, and the harmonic movement, what's being played melodically can actually make a lot more sense. So if we were going to look at this in terms of Roman numerals, those that have been on my live streams before, I'll just say it for everybody else. I got terrible handwriting, so bear with me. Okay. Now, a blues is different. We say a blues is in the key of C. It's technically a tonic chord, and the key of C is a major 7 chord, right? But we're dealing with the blues, so 1-7 can be seen as a tonic chord. Okay, then we go to the 4 chord. Then we go back to the 1. And what happens in this 4th bar here? Well, this C7 functions differently than the C7 at the beginning, because now it's got to take us to the F7, so this is actually a secondary dominant. It's a 5-7 of the 4. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm writing? Oh, that's not good. How can I fix that? Wait, let me check something here. Sorry, y'all. I think I can fix that. Can you see this? Oh, it does? You all can see what I'm writing? Okay, I'm going to... Okay, good. Sorry. Great, thank you. So I was right here. The C7 becomes the 4. We go to F7 in the second line. And then we have this E minor 7, 3 minor 7, 6, 7. This is also this A7 altered is also the 5 of the 2 chord, which is where we're headed. And then we have 2 minor 7, 5, 7, 1, 7, 6, 7, but really it's the 5 of the 2, 2 minor 7, 5, 7, then back to 1. Now in classical music, small minor chords have a small Roman numeral, and in some jazz analysis it does that too. Some people keep it all capital Roman numerals because then the chord symbol can, either way they're interchangeable. I kind of do them interchangeable too. Sometimes I'll do small letters for minor, but today I did all capital. So really we have it from the beginning. We've got 1, 7, 3, 4, 1. Oh, and then this is a 2, 5, 1 of the 4 chord. So it's like 2. Here, let me clean this up right here. So this right here is it's a 2, 5 going to the 4. So the G7, C altered, F7 is the 4 chord. Then we got 3 minor 7, 6 dominant, but that's also the 5 of the 2 minor 7, 5, 7, 1, 6 dominant, 2, 5, 1. That's a good thing to know, because now if I know those Roman numerals, if I go to different keys, let's do key of D. No, let's do something really unrelated. We'll do G flat. 1, 2, 4 is B7, 1. Now we've got to get to this B7. We do 2, 5 of the 4 to the 4, 4, 3, 6, which is the 5 of the 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. So that's an important thing to do. That can help really get that into your hands. The other thing now is talk melodically. I would start very small with this material. I wouldn't say I'm gonna do the whole thing in every key. You can certainly try that, but what I would do is isolate this. Clean this up a little bit here. I like the idea of practicing small. I like the idea of take little bits. Let's just take this first phrase right there. Whenever you transpose things, you want to think about the melodic material in relation to the chord you're playing. Okay? So we're playing C7. Okay? That E is the 3rd. The F is the 4. Sharp 4, 5. 3, 4, sharp 4, 5. When you transpose, you want to really use transposition, I always say it's the beautiful combination of your ear and your intellect. You need both to do this successfully. Yes, you could just kind of rely on your ear to fish it out. That's nothing wrong with that. But if you also can start to really think with an analytical mind, transposition can get a lot easier. So I know now that this is 3, 4, sharp 4, 5. Okay, that's the first little bit of intellect that I've realized. 3, 4, sharp 4, 5. Okay, the other intellect I've realized is that's all half steps. It's all half steps starting from the 3rd, and I end up on the 5th. So what I would do, take that little phrase and take it around. Don't only do it through the circle. Try doing it in minor thirds. Let's see. Back down. Try it by half steps. Try it random. Try it. Well, that's enough for now. You get the idea. You could do that with every single one of these. I would, you could, what you could even do, what I like to do is, okay, I got that first one kind of down. You know how you know you have it down is when you don't really have to think about it. It's kind of there. All right. I would just keep kind of making your way through it. The next one now, we go to the F7. Now this is the key. Think about these notes in relation to the chord you're playing. You don't relate it all to the key of C. That to me makes transposition much easier. So rather than thinking of these notes here, as we got an A, a G, an E flat, and a C. Rather than just thinking of that in the key of C, that would be 6, 5, flat 3, 1. That's not really what we're trying to do here. We're trying, and this is the other thing about etudes. You're trying to get vocabulary to play. So the way to get vocabulary into your playing, you have to know what vocabulary is being played over specific chords. So that little 4-note grouping, in this instance, it's over F. So the A, there we go. Now think of it in terms of the chord quality. We have, and I'm only dealing with, I'm not going to deal with extensions on scale tones for now. We're just going to deal with, like, I'm not going to call that a 9 for now. I'm just going to call it a 2. 3, 2, flat 7, 5. And then this right here is, I think of that as it's just kind of a chromatic approach up to the A, that G sharp. So we have 3, 2, flat 7, 5. So you can kind of see the shape. And there's like a minor triad right there. It's a half diminished chord. You can get a whole different, like, melodic minor. This could also be E major 7. It could be a sus flat 9. But in this specific case, we're dealing with the F7. 3, 2, flat 7, 1. 5, sorry. You start to see that shape. It actually just kind of outlines a dominant 9 chord. I mean, the 2 is the 9. You can start to see these as shapes, then you can you start getting intervals into your hands. They start to feel familiar. Like this in F feels kind of different than if I do it in D flat. It's the same intervals of notes, but they're laid out differently. And I'm sure on your horn or guitar, even guitar, like you can find different finger combinations that will kind of get your hand in your head really working. So what I would do is take these micro phrases and take them around. I won't do all of them for time. But then what you can do is let's string these two together. Let's string these first two phrases together. The writing thing here, I'm going to tweak a little bit. It's not quite where I want it to be. Thanks for bearing with me. So now we had that. So we're going from the 1 to the 4. Just work on that. And when I say work on it, I really mean it. Like take this etude and work on it for 4 weeks. You will be shocked at how your playing will improve by narrowing out what you don't need and just focusing in on a couple things and just really get them together. Just doing what I'm doing right here and being able to get that going in all 12 keys, those 2 measures, if that's all you can do in a month, you have made a lot of progress. Because here's the thing about transposition and learning tunes and internal, the more you do it, the more second nature it becomes. But you got to start somewhere. And that first time, the first, months or whatever, they can be kind of brutal because it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere. I have been there. But trust me, this is so valuable. So here. 1 to the 4. Let's go to F. 1, 4. Let's go to the key of B flat. Key of E. Key of B. Key of A. Now that I'm doing it, it's starting to get familiar. Key of G. Key of G flat. Key of one more. How about key of A flat? Okay. I'm gonna go through the end of the first line. Okay. This line right here. If you notice too, I'm breaking up these lines kind of. You can really delineate them by the chord changes. Like this one right here. That's the box is kind of the macro line. Okay. But then you have these two micro lines. And then so within these bigger phrases are smaller phrases. Okay. But let's just deal with measure 3 here. Everyone doing okay? I hope I sometimes go too fast when I do stuff like this. I'm still learning the YouTube pace is to slow down a little bit. I get excited and then I start going. So please let me know if you're like, dude, bring it down a notch. This is actually, I love it. This is actually Charlie Parker lick. So I'll just end up on the G. What am I doing? There we go. So really, like, we've got almost two different phrases in here. But if we analyze it, C7, we have, I'm going to do this actually. Hey, look at that. There we go. We've got flat 7, 6, flat 6, 5, 3, 1. And then this is a major 7, and it kind of resolves. We could even just, for the sake of the line, we could just say this is all C7. What we got here, this is the great thing too. I think of things as we go, but also when you play new vocabulary, you work on new vocabulary, think about the things that the vocabulary is teaching you in terms of, this is why knowing theory can be helpful. So right here we have dominant 7 bebop scale. There's a half step between 1 and flat 7. That's what we got here. So maybe I would break up the first part of it. The flat 7, 6, flat 6, 5. Now, if this is interesting, let's go back to this one. We had all half steps going up to the 5th, right? Now this one, we have all half steps coming down to the 5th from the flat 7. You'll notice too when you play certain licks, they have the same shape depending on the key signature. You see how the flat 7 starts on a black key, makes its way down to the G. I don't know how this would work on a horn, but I'm sure certain keys, I don't know, maybe not. They feel the same, but on the piano, C does that. F does that. Start on a black key down to the 5th. The B flat does it. And then E flat and A flat are the same. Black key down to a black key. A flat, black key down to a black key. Now we've got D flat, G flat, and B all have white key down to a black key. G flat, white key down to a black key, white key down to a black key, and then these are just, we got A and E and A have the same movement, and then D and G have the same look. So those little things, all those little things, you can start to see like, oh, these keys look the same, kind of. They feel the same. You noticed it was kind of certain flat keys look the same, certain sharp keys look the same, or lay out the same. All good things to do. This is all that intellect part of it. And then we had this. What a great little line that is. It's just a major triad, and then move down to the 7. You'll notice I'm analyzing this in relation to the chord. So I'm not just trying to fish out the notes. I used to do that, and we've all been there. But when you can really say, oh, I see that that's just a C triad, and then we have this little half step added. That's how you can get quicker. You can get quicker because you're using the mind and the ear. I also know what that sounds like. Do, 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 do. Altogether, And then I would just add it on to the whole line here. It's a building block, one little thing after the next. But what I would do is I wouldn't what I'm trying to say here. I wouldn't move on until you can kind of do this as you go. It's also perfectly fine to just pick a line that you like, which I'll get to in a minute. I call those fragments. But stacking them in as you go, you start to kind of build momentum, and you can start to widen your scope of what you can do. Let's just do this last line. We have G minor 7, and then I'm going to get into just a few more little practice techniques. I don't want to take your time forever here because it is Friday. I don't, where I am in Austria, I don't even know what time it is. It's got to be what, like 10 o'clock at night in Austria? Something like that, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So thanks for staying up, folks overseas. So here's this last one. So we have this G minor 7, and then we have C7 altered, and we resolve to the F7. So we've got a flat 3, 5, a flat 7. I'm going to just call it 2 for now. It could be a 9. And then we have flat 6 or a flat 13 down to the 3rd, and then the root. So these are all in relation to the chord. Relation to the chord. Relation to the chord. Well, that's just flat 3, 5, 7, 9. That's just a minor 9. Not just. That's a minor 9 arpeggio. That's a very important thing to be able to do. I mean, really, it's just, we've heard that voicing before. Okay, and then we have this. That's a real common movement. That 9 goes down a half step, becomes a flat 13 of the dominant, down to the 3rd, down to the 1. You just outline. This is just an augmented triad. 1, 3, sharp 5, or flat 13 or flat 6. I'm calling it a flat 13 just because it's an extension. But melodically, you can just think of it as a flat 6 over the C, because that's what it is. Don't get too worried about whether it's a 13 or a 6. Just something that'll help. We got a quick question. That's a good question from Bruce. Let me put that up. How do you know if a piece of vocabulary is fully ingrained sufficiently to move on? I'll get to that. I have to do a metronome as well. This is an interesting question. The thing is, it's kind of a backwards, not backwards, but like a back end idea, because you could argue that don't move on to anything else until this is completely, totally ingrained. I would say the way that you know it's ingrained is if you don't really think about it. The thing is, though, is this is an ever evolving thing. Like, for instance, something like this, I haven't looked at these in a while, but now that I'm playing through it again, there's some stuff in here that I could work on, that I could kind of get back into my arsenal, so to speak. So I think the way that you know is you don't really have to think about it. Like this, I don't have to think about it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that phrase was from some solo and I didn't move on to anything else until I could do that. You can always keep coming back to stuff. Things will come in and out of your playing um, all throughout your playing career. Just like certain tunes, there's certain tunes that I used to play a ton. Like I had 2 weekly gigs before COVID, and I would play tons of tunes. Well, COVID happened, and then there's like I just did a gig last night with a great bass player here. We played the tune "Sail Away" by Tom Harrell, and he called it, and I was like, wow, I haven't played that since like 2019, and I just kind of hadn't played it. But then we played through it, and it kind of came back right away. But that tune was really ingrained 5 years ago because I played it all the time. But then I played it for the first time last night in 5 years. And I was like, whoa, I forgot about that tune. So things will come in and out. The thing I can say, Bruce, about what can help with this, and this is for everybody, I would really recommend getting just a manuscript notebook and use it as like a log of like a lick log or a practice journal. Practice journal not meaning like I worked on this today, and that's fine too. But what I'm saying is like a musical practice log, and just start making a log. You don't have to get too worried about being too organized. I just do it chronologically as I think of, or as I come across something that I want to learn, or that I either transcribe, or just whatever it may be. I put it in that log. And then it's written down, and I have a record of it. And there's a lot of times when I'm like, I'm sure some of you have felt this, like, what should I work on today? And I can open up that log and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to work on this. It can be a nice thing, a reminder of things that you could work on. In terms of like do you mean metronome setting for like how fast should it be? I mean, I think certain licks only work at certain tempos or whatever it may be, but if you can play stuff pretty fast, you know, I kind of have that down. I mean, I'm playing a little sloppy, but I would say in general, half note equals, maybe quarter note equals 80, quarter note equals 120, and then quarter note equals 200 as a starting point. But find a tempo, if you really have a lick that's really down, you feel like it's just really in there, try a really fast tempo and see if you can, I'm just trying to see, that's tough in that key. Damn, the fingering on this nasty. There you go. Who thought G would have been difficult? There we go. So this is something I'm writing real time. I'm taking mental notes of stuff to work on. That's why these are great, is because it can teach you stuff that you got to take a look at. So in terms of knowing when things are ingrained, my very long-winded answer is sometimes it doesn't feel like it completely is. But that doesn't mean you have to just like not move on from it. You can always come back to it. But I think if you can get it to a point where it's starting to seep into your playing, like if you find yourself, oh, there's that lick I've been working on, it kind of showed up. But I wouldn't force it too much, Force it while you're practicing. Like, for instance, you actually led me into the kind of the final thing I wanted to talk about. How a way to really help get it ingrained is to integrate it into your own playing. I call this like the runway method. So let's try that. The lick we just did. So I have this piece of vocabulary. This is a 2-5, right? G. Just so you know, I'm still on on this one right here, the last bar. No problem, Bruce. Oh, whoops. Sorry. There we go. Yes. G minor 7, C7 alt. So a really great way to integrate vocabulary is, I call it the runway method. You play all your own vocabulary, and that phrase that let me do a different one. Let me do this is the first phrase of the etude. All the etudes. Okay? I'm going to play that phrase around my own vocabulary, but whenever I land on a chord that plays a dominant chord, I'm going to play that phrase. And around that, I'm going to play other vocabulary, but I have to arrive at this lick by a step. I can't leap, so you got to lead into it. Let me see if we can see what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing all as much as I can. Okay, that's one. Let me try. Let's try this one, the one I originally talked about. So I'm gonna try to put this wherever I see a possible 2-5 situation. See if I can do it. Let's see. Well, there it works. So you could hear me putting that in there. This is practicing. This isn't playing. So practicing is like you're really trying to shoehorn in the language where you can do it. So you're trying to. I'm not going to go out on a gig and do that. On a gig. I'm going to try to forget about this stuff and just be in the moment. But when I'm trying to work on vocabulary, you want to get the vocabulary, just try to find any place that you can insert it. And the runway method is nice because it causes you to integrate it with what you're playing. Okay. Man, I think I've been going. It's been an hour. I think I'm probably going to pause this one, but I'll certainly do more. I hope this was helpful. I feel like I kind of rambled on a bit about certain things, but I love doing these live streams, and I'll keep doing them, and I'll keep getting a little more comfortable as I do it. But that's kind of all I got today. But we'll do more. And thanks y'all for joining us. Anybody got any questions? Any final questions? Please let me know right now. Maybe I'll just open it up for a few minutes. If anybody's got anything, I'll give you a second. Let me think of anything else. I guess I should say this. I'm going to send out an email to my email list, but I'm opening up my schedule to take on some private students. If you go to the website whalenjazzlessons.com, there's now a tab that I just made live called Lessons. So check that out. Oh, Gary, what do you got? If a lick is difficult to finger in certain keys, would you consider discarding it? No. Great question, Jerry. Transposition is great that way because it forces you to get your fingers working in different ways. So here's a big disclaimer about fingerings in jazz. Yes, it's very important to know your scale fingers, right? But you're never going to play a line with that fingering. Honestly, these three fingers are used a lot. And these are two of us, but like these, especially when you start getting with half steps. So no, I would actually do the most difficult keys ahead of all the easy keys. And this is a good practice tip for everybody. Don't practice your easier keys. Practice your difficult keys. So if the key of A is really bad for you, any line, anything you want to learn, start at an A and be able to play at an A. So the only fingering thing that I would offer, is it Jerry or Gary? I think it's Jerry. Jerry seems right. You want to just move your hands in a way that's not going to get them in a bind. So for instance, like, I'll just do this line right here. That's really easy in the key of C. But like you just saw me do it in G flat, very different. So that's a weird movement. If you notice, I'm trying to move my hand I'm moving it, and now I'm kind of getting a motion that works. So I'm going, but I'm not going to focus too much on like memorizing exactly what fingering I did. That's not really the key. What's great about the key, get it, transposition. What's great about transposition is it forces your hands to move in ways that feel weird in certain keys. But the more you get used to that weirdness, the more flexibility you get. There we go. See, that's a weird movement to go. But if I go third finger, even fourth finger, 4, 3, there. So you notice I'm kind of working it out as I go here. But that's much more difficult than, for me, C, but then I go, but now I got it. And now my technique just got a little bit better because I figured out a fingering in that weird key. So do not avoid the hard keys. The hard keys are where your technique's gonna get better because you had to figure out a way to do it. The only thing I'll say is, don't do anything that's gonna injure your fingers. Always be aware of being relaxed. And then don't just, use if you're a pianist, use your knowledge of the piano. You got pivots and use your arm. But on a horn or something, just this is about repetition. You just keep doing it till it feels right. You guys saw me stumbling all over the place when I first did that. Now it kind of feels good. Yeah, so don't avoid easier keys. That's my very long answer to that. Okay. In fact, embrace the harder keys first. You know, us educators, sometimes we start things on C all the time, and I'm guilty of that. I should stop doing that. I should start going to the difficult keys. When you're trying to demonstrate things, it's easier to see it in keys with less sharps and flats. Okay, but definitely do not avoid the harder keys. All right, anybody else? I think that's all I got. Um, Thank you all so much. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for coming. I appreciate your time. And let me just go through and make sure I didn't forget anything else. Got Bruce's. Glenn. Oh, Glenn. Learn. I belong. Oh, thank you, Glenn. Okay. Thanks everybody that stuck with me. Um, and sorry, I almost blocked somebody by mistake. That didn't mean to happen if I did. All right. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon, okay? Thank you.